Welcome to the decimals division station. For this station, the instructions are fairly straightforward. You're going to take two random numbers from your list of numbers. This could be a pile of cards that you pull from, or it could be a Google Doc with a bunch of numbers listed down a page, or something printed in front of you on a piece of paper. Whatever it is, just pick two numbers at random from your pile. You get to choose which two. As long as just one of them has a decimal, then you are okay. So let's just say we pick the first two cards on this pile, and there's a bunch I could choose from. I'm going to pick these two, just because. And I'm going to start a division problem. It doesn't matter which one you want to divide by. Just pick one you want to put on the inside. I'm going to pick 2.5 or 2 5/10, and the other number on the outside, 1 6/100. Now, just some terminology so it's easier to communicate with your table partners and your teacher. Just remember that the inside number is what we call the dividend. Now, maybe you could think of this as the end of your written expression here. It's kind of towards the right. But whatever method you have to remember that, it's okay. I call that my end of the expression, so it's my dividend. This will also be your numerator in a fraction form, or it will be in the traditional expression, the one that appears on the left of a division symbol. These all mean the same exact thing, but it's only in this long division form at the top that we can truly show our work and solve this problem. Unless you know how to do this in your head, which I don't think many of us could. All right, so if that's our dividend, what is the divisor? Well, the divisor, the other term we used in the division problem, is what we call the outside number, or our denominator, or the number that we are dividing our other number by. So dividend gets divided by our divisor. Okay, so let's divide this, and well, let's focus more on the setup. I'm not going to show you the whole division solution, but I will show you how to set it up. You should have learned how to divide in a previous lesson or unit, so today is more about how we set up the problem. If you have questions about finishing the division problem, ask a friend at your table or ask your teacher. So, what is different here than, let's say, a typical division problem where we do something like 18 divided by 3? Well, the difference here is that we have to change something before we start dividing. Over down here, we would say, how many times does 3 fit into 1? 0 times. How many times does it fit into 18? 6 times. We write our answer. We see that there's nothing left. We're done with our division. Fine. But something is different when we have decimal in our numbers. And this is the one, the divisor, that is most important. We actually don't mind having a decimal in our dividend, our inside number. We don't care at all. In fact, if this was 2.5 or 2 5/10 divided by 106, a whole number, we would just divide like we normally would. We would say, how many times does 106 fit into 2? How many times does it fit into 25? How many times does it fit into 250? We would just do our division as normal. But that is not the case. We have a decimal in our outside number, and as mathematicians, we do not want that. So we are going to do what we can to remove that decimal. How do we do that? We are going to move it however many number of times we have to before it fills the final spot. So once and twice. We're going to move it over twice. We're going to erase where it originally was, and now we have the number 106. The only problem is, if we try to solve this without any further changes, we would get 2 5/10 divided by 106. We would get this number, 0.023 and more. Why is that a problem? Well, let's do the original question, 2.5 divided by 1.06, or 2 5/10 divided by 1 600. We get a totally different place value, a totally different number. We get 2 3600, just about. So we have to adjust for the change in place value that we just saw. So we're going to have to move over this decimal the same number of times that we moved the outside number. Once, twice. And fill in any spots created by this jump with a 0. So 2 5/10 becomes, with this decimal move, 250. 250 divided by 106. This will give us the same answer that as the original problem, 2 5/10 divided by 1 600. Before you move on to your own choices, let's just show one more example. 2 more cards and how we set it up. Let's do this one together. Let's say we have 3 divided by 2 6500. 3 divided by, 3 divided by 2 6500. Now, we do not care, we do not mind at all that the inside number has a decimal or not, but we do care that this one does. So we need to do something about it. How many times do we have to move it over? Try it on your own at first. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, we're going to move it over twice to make it become 265. And we're going to have to move the decimal over next to 3 the same number of times. 1, 2. And we're going to fill in the empty spots with zeros. So this becomes 300 divided by 265. This will give you the same answer as 3 divided by 2 6500. Now, why do we have to care if this is moved over? Well, long story short, if we didn't move it over, let's just try to say 3 divided by 2 6500. If we didn't move this over, when you go to ask yourself, how many times does my outside number fit inside my inside? You might be kind of confused. You might ask yourself, do I say 2.65 fit into 3? Well, I don't know. That's what my division problem's for. What do I do? But if we make it a whole number and move the decimal over the same number, well, we can all quite simply say what this is without much of a problem. How many times does 265 fit inside of 300? It's just conceptually easier. So you're going to move your decimal over until your outside number becomes a whole number. And that's it. If you need help with your division skills, again, ask your teacher or somebody at your table.